while Lemieux is in St. Johnsbury right now, he is usually training in Aurora, Minnesota. This existing fence will be replaced in September, October with a 8-foot-high green PVC-coated chain link fence in order to keep out unwanted visitors. This highly invasive bug isn't just a threat to Vermont's ecosystem, it's also a threat to Vermont's natural beauty and its economy. And we got a chance to talk to an X Games medalist from St. Johnsbury. New 7 starts right now.
Last Thursday, Lincoln Lemieux realized a childhood dream.
Growing up, I always wanted to make it to the X Games, but, you know, really I just want to do the best I can every race, and that was kind of my goal growing up.
That goal was met when the 24-year-old St. Johnsbury native took home the snowcross bronze medal at the 2017 X Games in Aspen.
You know, when I won the medal, it was really exciting, but, you know, just competing against, you know, a lot of great athletes was amazing.
Lemieux finished the 30-lap course in 9 minutes and 58 seconds, about 5 seconds behind first place.
And while Lemieux is in St. Johnsbury right now, he is usually training in Aurora, Minnesota.
Snowmobiling runs in the Lemieux family. Lincoln is not the only member of the family who's into snowcross.
Not very many kids had their dad, brother, and sister all riding. Parents would tell their kids what to do out on the track, but they didn't know what it was like, and our dad did.
My dad used to race motocross and snowcross, so, you know, he's probably the most excited out of everyone.
Our dad was awesome. They called him the Iron Man.
After placing 11th last year and 3rd this year, Lemieux doesn't plan on giving up anytime soon. After all, it's in the family name.
Our last name means the best, and we tried to live up to it.
Reporting for News 7, I'm Dan Fenton in St. Johnsbury.
According to the Pentagon, over this weekend, the United States military detected a failed North Korean ballistic missile launch.
With international tensions escalating, we took a look back at history through the eyes of a Korean War veteran. News 7's Dan Fenton reports.
Retired Command Sergeant Major George Bates spent most of his military career with the Vermont Army National Guard, but began his years of service far away in East Asia during the Korean War.
I went in at 18 years old. I ended up in Korea at 19 years old, and I spent the whole year there. Are you afraid? Are you scared? You know, at the time, you do what you have to do. And I guess I was that type of guy that if it had to be done and I was one of them guys, I'm going to do it.
And what he did earned himself a Purple Heart.
As I ran back up, I dove into a bank that was cut out a little bit, and all the explosions and all the sand was coming over me. The lieutenant dove in there with me. And he says, let's get the hell out of here. Up we go, and I should have stayed there because that's when I got hit with shrapnel on the backside and on my wrist.
Not only was the shrapnel piercing, but so were the frozen winters.
I, born in Vermont, was very well aware of cold weather, and I grew up in it. And I did not have any frozen feet or hands, so whether you be a tanker, an infantryman, a combat engineer, whatever it was, they all done their job and done it greatly. That country South Korea is great today. I say we, not I, but my comrades and companies and the U.S. forces stopped communist aggression at that point in time. In 1953, they finally came to a conclusion to stop the fighting, but they only settled, they did not sign a peace treaty. They only signed an agreement to stop the fighting. So, in essence, we could still be at war with North Korea.
Vermont State Police and St. Johnsbury Fire and Rescue were called to the scene of an accident on Mount Pisgah Road off Memorial Drive on Route 5. A 2008 GMC truck was lying on its passenger side in a small brook. Nearby residents Susan Therian and Michael O'Brien were there to help him out of the truck. They say that the driver reeked of alcohol.
He asked us to call 911, and we did, and after a few minutes, he's like going, "You called 911?" And we said, "Yes, we did," and he says, "Well, I have to go see my father," and he took off.
But he smelled really bad. I mean, he was really overpowering with alcohol. He was very agitated. He just kind of, bounced back and forth a little bit, and then he just took off. And I thought it was strange. He only had one shoe. The other one must be still in the truck.
The driver's father showed up at Ace's Towing in Lyndonville this morning to remove things, including the driver's other shoe from the truck. He reportedly said that he had notified the police as to the identity of the driver. Dan Fenton, News 7, St. Johnsbury. This September marks the 25th year of a special aeronautical program dedicated to showing kids 8 through 18 a whole new perspective of the earth and sky, free of charge. Photojournalist Cassie Helmar joined me this weekend so we could watch the Experimental Aircraft Association take a whole new generation of pilots into the skies of the Northeast Kingdom. This past Saturday, EAA Chapter 1576 hosted their third ever Young Eagles Day event at the Caledonia County Airport.
It's a great feeder program. It introduces the youth to all the different aspects of aviation, from air traffic control, obviously piloting, could be mechanical field, any type of engineering. So our role is to try to really broadcast and kind of plant the seed at a very young age.
Young Eagles Day is a day private pilots dedicate their time, money, and aircraft in order to give kids a chance of a lifetime to experience the freedom of flight that many can only dream about.
And Canada traffic, Cherokee Eagle is going to depart very quickly before you.
I've always thought being in the air would be scary, but it's actually very fun.
Small plane ride, you get to see what more is going on with the plane, how it operates. With a commercial ride, you just see out the window.
There wasn't just pilots from this chapter. There were also pilots from all around the state.
So Vermont has 4 chapters in Vermont. There's a chapter in Bennington, there's a chapter in Rutland, Caledonia, which is where we are now, and also in Franklin County Airport. The beauty of having the network of EAA is that when they have an event like this, if there's only a small chapter such as Caledonia, they can reach out to their fellow chapters across the state, bring them in, and which is a lot of the aircraft you're seeing here today are from the Franklin County Airport.
After the Eagles have landed, they are presented with a certificate and a logbook.
At the end of the flight, they will be receiving a certificate and a logbook. And in that logbook, at the back of the logbook, there's actually online as a course they can take. It's it's first like a training course, so that's something that's pretty cool.
According to the FAA, as of this September, over 2 million young eagles have taken flight across the country. Today at the Caledonia County Airport, they plan on increasing that number by 50 young eagles.
These folks here, this particular chapter, the EAA chapter, they did a lot of pre-planning, and as you've seen today, just being here, there's a lot of young people that are here. We've gone to others where, well, maybe they didn't advertise it quite so well, but it's the same intent, and that is to bring young people up into the air and get them interested in flying.
There you go. For some, that interest doesn't go away.
This young man here, I gave him his first Young Eagle flight probably about 12 years ago, and he's now, he got sparked by that flight. He was excited about aviation. He continued aviation, and he's now part of Vermont's only 4-year aviation college degree, which is Vermont Flight Academy, sponsored through the Vermont Technical College.
And one day, Jen Davis called me up, and she said that they were doing an event in Newport, and they needed pilots and wanted to know if I would come and do one. So I did, I came, and I fell in love with it.
Events like these are geared toward keeping aviation aloft and keeping young pilots soaring.
Traffic Eagle 9 Australia, there is departing
The sole purpose, again, is to get young pilots in the air. There's such a huge pilot shortage right now, and we need to do these things over and over. I know the state of Vermont, the Vermont Agency of Transportation, strongly supports the Young Eagle program because they have a fiduciary and also a statutory obligation to support aviation education in the state. I'm also the president of Vermont Aviation Management Association. Our goal is to make sure that events like this happen at all the airports so that we can keep the kids flying.
How did you like it?
Fun.
Dan Fenton.
Yep, that's a little barf bag.
News 7, Lyndonville.
Well, we enjoyed it.
Yeah.
The organizers flew 162 young eagles last year alone. Another 68 went up in the air this past weekend. That's 18 more than anticipated. Now, next Sunday, there will be another event which provides airplane rides for youngsters at the Morrisville-Stowe Airport called Airtoberfest. Vermont lawmakers have been considering legalizing marijuana for a long time now. Right now, Vermonters can legally use marijuana with a prescription from a doctor. Last May, a bill legalizing the use of recreational cannabis made it to Governor Phil Scott's desk to be signed into law, but he vetoed the measure, saying his biggest concerns, highway safety and Vermont's children, have yet to be addressed.
We can't put our heads in the sand. We have to hit this and confront this head on. And if we legalize, we should be better prepared and make sure that we have the right laws in effect in place as we legalize to protect the most vulnerable, protect our kids, and protect those on the highway.
David Vines, former Vermont Army Guard medic, says he uses marijuana to treat his PTSD. He believes pot is more beneficial than the drugs the VA used to prescribe him.
Cannabis over pills is a no-brainer in my mind. Parents have their children back because they're not walking zombies put off on prescription VA meds that just don't allow us to be who we should be. I tell my wife, when I have cannabis, I feel like I did before I deployed. 100%. It's like hopping in a time machine for me. It's like I go back 7 years now and I'm able to be Dave again.
Vermont State Senator Joe Benning's summer motorcycle trip to Alaska was not only a vacation, he witnessed the direction in which he believes Vermont should head.
They have done it in such a way that people up there now use when they want to use at the right place, and nobody cares. And that's exactly where I think Vermont will end up being someday. We're just not over that initial hurdle of people just being absolutely paranoid about what happens if we decide to legalize.
Vines says the downside of the current system is that some vets are afraid to sign up for legal weed in order to keep their firearms.
A lot of vets are Second Amendment lovers. You know, a lot of them have firearms. And you can't. You can't have a firearm when you have your medical card. You know, sacrifice one freedom for the other. Doesn't really sound like America.
The reality is we've been having people consuming that product here for generations, and it is not as if some light switch is going to get flicked on and all of a sudden we're going to be inundated by hundreds of thousands of people who want to get stoned. This is a product that's being sold on our streets every single day. We are literally going through the painful process of coming to terms with all of that.
Scott appointed a special marijuana advisory commission after he vetoed that bill. The commission holds their second meeting tomorrow at the State House. They're charged with making a recommendation to Scott about how to move forward. In Lyndonville, over the weekend, Vermont State Police responded to a burglary at the Fenton Ice Arena. Ashley Tilson pleaded not guilty to 88 counts of animal cruelty charges after police found at least 80 animal carcasses in her mobile home last month. And now I'm Dan Fenton. Secretary Algo Beal spoke to the St. Johnsbury Rotary today. Vermont's opioid crisis has begun to seriously impact Vermont's children. The Hilltoppers will look to return to the championship and avenge their loss last year. News 7's Andrew Whalen is live in St. Johnsbury with more on the home opener. Andrew? So, Eric, I heard there's going to be fireballs tonight, and I'm not talking about the candy. Can you explain to us a little bit what we can expect? And now Eric Wiglar joins us with a first look at our forecast. Eric, this weather has been up and down this week. What's going on out there? When are we going to see some consistent temperatures? An update regarding the situation at NVRH yesterday. Around 3:15 p.m., Vermont State Police were notified of a male subject possibly threatening staff. When police arrived, the hospital was in lockdown based on comments made by 18-year-old Dakota Gilbert of St. Johnsbury. Early yesterday morning, Vermont State Police were dispatched to a car off the side of the road on Commercial Lane in Linden. 26-year-old Ryan Farnham was taken into custody for suspicion of DUI. He is cited to appear in Caledonia Criminal Court on November 20th. The St. Johnsbury School District has frozen the budget for the St. Johnsbury Town School. And now meteorologist Mitchell Most joins us with a first look at our forecast. Mitchell, I heard there's a storm coming. What can you tell us about that? And find out about one church in Lyndonville who is already getting in the holiday spirit. Stick with us. 53-year-old Dylan Flanagan of Enosburg, Vermont was traveling southbound on Interstate 91 in Bradford Monday morning when she jumped out of her car.
And now Eric Weglars joins us for a look at our forecast. Eric, what are we feeling out there? Low 40s, high 40s?
Jessica, it's getting chilly outside. The temperature is going to get even lower this week. That's weird. It was really cold today, Mitchell. When's it time to put on those winter treads?
You know, I love orchids as well, but my favorite are the pink and white ones. Those are absolutely beautiful.
And furry friends get a national holiday. Stay tuned. First tonight on News 7, an update about a story we first told you about last night, about teenagers playing a dangerous game. The Linden Bible Church is getting into the Christmas spirit of helping others by participating in Operation Christmas Child. News 7's Matt Trito and photojournalist Cassie Helmar have the story. And now Mitchell Most joins us with a first look at our forecast. Mitchell, is it still snowing out there? The concert will start at 5 p.m. on New Year's Eve at Fuller Hall. And I'm Dan Fenton. For more stories and all the latest breaking news, check us out online at news7newslink.net, as well as our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.